The story of Dragon Ball began with our young protagonist, Goku, traveling around the world with the brilliant scientist and inventor, Bulma, in search of the wish-granting Dragon Balls. The series was really lighthearted and fun at first, but things truly got intriguing once we get into the Z era of the series. At the beginning of Z, a malevolent alien came to Earth in search of someone named Kakarot. The alien, who we know as the Saiyan warrior Raditz, insisted that Goku is not only this Kakarot that he's looking for, but is also his brother. In battle shonen fashion, a fight ensues. Goku's son Gohan is kidnapped, forcing Goku and adversary Piccolo to team up to bring down the invader. With Raditz being too powerful, Goku and Piccolo agree the only way to stop the Saiyan was for Goku to hold him in place while Piccolo hit them both with his ultimate attack, the Special Beam Cannon. The plan works just as it's supposed to, but at the cost of Earth's greatest warrior's life. Thinking the nightmare is over, Piccolo informs the dying Saiyan of the Dragon Balls and their ability to grant a wish, including bringing the dead back to life, assuring that Goku will live once again. This, however, was a mistake, as the device Raditz wears transmitted all of this information to two far more powerful Saiyans, whom he vows will be there within a year to take the Dragon Balls for themselves, destroying Earth in the process, and from there the rest is history. But now on to the main point of this video. What if things had played out differently, with the Z Fighters' plan failing and Raditz surviving their assault? Well, I think I've got a good idea on how that may have played out, so sit back and let me take you on that journey. So naturally, we have to figure out how Raditz survives this fatal blow. But to me, it's pretty obvious. Raditz was approximately 3 times stronger than either Goku or Piccolo separately, and nearly twice as strong as them combined. Goku got a really good grip on him, but I always felt they got away with that win too easily, despite Goku kicking the bucket in the end. What makes sense here is that during the struggle, Raditz wiggles out of Goku's clutches just enough so that Piccolo's Special Beam Cannon does not hit him fatally. It still pierces Goku's abdomen and seals his fate, but Raditz is able to make it out alive. Though it's not like it just grazed him either. The Special Beam Cannon takes a good chunk out of his side, rendering him unable to put up much of a fight. The result of this battle is Goku still losing his life, and a draw between those still alive. With the plan failed, and still being unsure if he could take on Raditz, Piccolo grabs Gohan and retreats in the hopes that they can find some way to defeat the Saiyan menace. Raditz attempts to head back to his pod, only to find that it is completely destroyed from Gohan's rage-inducted assault. Realizing he can't leave Earth, he musters the last of his strength to fly far away in order to hide and heal. Once well hidden, Raditz contacts his Saiyan comrades, Vegeta and Nappa, to request their assistance. They tell Raditz to stay put and wait for their arrival about 1 year from then. During this time frame, Piccolo still decides to take up the task of training Gohan, as he recognized that he was Earth's best chance of defeating Raditz. Meanwhile, the other Z Fighters were searching high and low for the Dragon Balls so they could bring Goku back as soon as possible. Kami, being Earth's guardian, knew Raditz's location and could sense that he was inactive, lulling him and the others into a false sense of security that they'd definitely be able to take him on after some prolonged training. This would definitely be a detriment to them, as they were all unaware of the 2 additional threats heading their way. Time passes, and events proceed mostly the same as they would in Z regularly. Gohan and Piccolo have trained to the max, and are sure they are more than capable of taking Raditz down, but are still waiting for Goku's revival as a precaution. Suddenly, Kami and the Z Fighters sense 2 outrageously strong powers approaching, and they are nothing like they have ever felt before. They don't know exactly who or what they are sensing, but they are all certain of one thing: these were not friends. This is where some unfortunate circumstances start to rear their ugly heads. Since no one on Earth knew about the other Saiyans coming to Earth as backup, Goku does not end up training with King Kai. Without King Yama recommending this training, Goku resorts to powering up on his own. And while that's all good and dandy, it does not even remotely compare to what he could have gained with King Kai. Nappa and Vegeta touch down on Earth and reconvene with Raditz. Raditz tells them where to find the Z Fighters and their numbers, though it would hardly matter, as the only ones considered a threat to Raditz were Gohan and Piccolo. But a threat to the likes of Raditz would be no more than a mild annoyance to the Prince of Saiyans and his right-hand man. With that said, they began their pursuit of the Kame House. At the same time, Bulma was on her way with the very last Dragon Ball. With the others being no more than fodder, it was a race against time, and the hopes of bringing back the only other person capable of giving adequate backup to Junior and his protege. Unfortunately for everyone, the Saiyans were far too quick and easily beat Bulma to their mutual destination. The Z-Fighters had no choice but to fight. Now, I won't say the fight that goes down is exactly the same as it did originally, but the results certainly would be. With an additional Saiyan in the mix, and being caught off guard with two far more powerful combatants in the first place, they were unbelievably outmatched. For the sake of memes, Yamcha is still annihilated by a Cyberman early on in the fight, and is hardly any help. Unfortunately, this fate was also met by Master Roshi. The only ones to truly hold their own, aside from Gohan and Piccolo, were Krillin and Tien Shinhan. Tien Shinhan took on Earth's original threat, while Krillin covered Nappa, leaving the strongest of the three Saiyans to Gohan and Piccolo. Naturally, Krillin was no match for Nappa one-on-one, but a game of cat and mouse with the Destructo Disc is one of his specialties. Krillin goes for the kill shot, but is unsuccessful in decapitating Nappa, though he fared better here, as Nappa had no assistance from Vegeta this time around, resulting in his ear being cut off and his scouter completely destroyed. This pisses Nappa off considerably more than just his face cut, and results in a much more focused fight. Well, it's not particularly a fight, as he easily overpowers Krillin, beating him mercilessly. Chaozu attempts to save his comrade by sneak attacking Nappa. This does not work out well for the little guy, as he's killed by the Saiyan brute effortlessly before he can begin his farewell speech to his best friend and Kamikaze himself. With those nuisances out of the way, Nappa was finally able to lend some assistance to his comrades. Tien Shinhan was pretty evenly matched with Raditz, but with Nappa now at his side, it was all over with. Now, I do want to mention that while I understand Raditz would get a Zenkai boost from nearly being killed a year earlier, his power level would likely only be a little north of 2000 from it, whereas Tien Shinhan's is around 1800 after training for the last year, making the difference in their power very minimal. But that doesn't particularly matter now that Nappa was able to lend Raditz a hand. The Z-Fighters were easily picked off one by one in little to no time at all, leaving just Gohan and Piccolo against all three invaders. Then, with a small glimmer of hope for Earth, Bulma arrives with a final Dragon Ball. She was completely unprepared to see nearly all of her friends fall into these monsters and was frozen in horror. Angrily, Piccolo yells out to Bulma to hurry up and call forth Shenron so they could bring Goku back to life. This piqued Vegeta's interest, but fell completely to the wayside with Raditz. He was still just interested in seeking revenge on the people that reduced him to a recluse over the last year. As Bulma begins to summon Shenron, Raditz heads in her direction so he could kill her. Piccolo attempts to stop him, but is so worn down from his fight with Vegeta that Raditz is able to take him out in a single blow, enacting his revenge on the Namekian after a long year of patience. Just as Raditz is about to kill Bulma, Vegeta orders him to stop, as she might be the only one with information on the Dragon Balls. Shenron comes forth and is prepared to grant the wish, much to the amazement of the Saiyans. Vegeta attempts to take the wish for himself and asks Shenron for immortality, but is met with disappointment as the dragon disappears and the ball turns to stone. Furious, he asks Bulma what happened, unsure if his wish was granted. Bulma explains that Piccolo needs to be alive in order for the Dragon Balls to work. Being so close to his goal and having it stripped from him, Vegeta kills both Raditz and Bulma in a fit of rage. Knowing that Piccolo was a Namekian, Vegeta realizes that there must be Dragon Balls on his native planet as well, and proceeds to head back to his pod, with Nappa right behind him. As they lay death and destruction upon Earth, Nappa tells Vegeta that he needed to report back to Frieza about the situation and the Dragon Balls himself, as his scatter was destroyed in battle. Vegeta looks at the opportunity in front and decides to off Nappa as well, going completely rogue against Frieza and his army. Vegeta gets to his pod and sets course for Namek, but not before finishing the job Goku never started. He destroys the planet along with his scouter, leaving behind no trace of where he went or what his plans are. Sometime after not hearing back from the two Saiyans, Frieza heads to Earth to investigate if the three powerful Saiyans could have really fallen victim to its inhabitants, only to find remnants of the planet in its place. And there you have it, folks. That's how Raditz surviving plays out in my mind. In the end, he still met his demise, but ultimately got his revenge on the planet, even if it was by the hands of the guy who killed him. Speaking of which, Vegeta going rogue much earlier, and with no Z-Fighters to oppose him, really creates an interesting scenario, huh? Definitely let me know if you want to know what happens next with the Saiyan Prince down in the comments section below. I'd be really interested in trying my hand at that story. Anyhow, I'm gonna get going. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.